Welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio, or should I say today, Tractor Time with Tester. He's having a hard time hearing out there on the tractor, so we have to talk loudly.
Well, I have a hard time hearing, period. It has to do with driving a, Massey Ferguson 1150 with a V8 Perkins motor in it when I was growing up and not wearing any ear protection. So now when you get a little older, or a lot older in my case, as you would say, Maritza, you can't hear, but that's okay. It's good.
It's okay. It's good. So here's how it's going to work. He's in the tractor because he's got a lot of work to do. It's harvest season. It's an 8 month. We have with us today Sky Perryman. She's the president and CEO of Democracy Forward. Oh wait, let me back up. When John Tester's not talking, I'm going to mute him like that because it's just too sorry, it's just too loud. There's just too much background noise. So right now I'm going to say that we are going to welcome Sky Perryman, who's the president and CEO of Democracy Forward. We're going to do some headlines after our conversation with Sky. But Sky is a lawyer. She's led the way in many of these lawsuits pushing back against the Trump administration. She's also the author of the new book, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Times. It makes the case that defending democracy is a role for all of us, not just the lawyers and the politicians. And that book comes out August 25th. So let me unmute John Tester and let's bring in Sky Perryman. Hi, Sky. How are you?
Hi. Hi, so good to see you, and always good to hear the background noise of a tractor. I grew up riding my grandfather's tractor, so always love it, you know?
You know,
Okay.
just trying to feed the world. That's all. No pressure.
No
It's good to
No,
pressure.
have you on, Sky, and we got a bunch of questions for you, but I'm going to let my journalist co-host start.
okay. I'm gonna mute you, Senator. We're looking at his ear. I mean, this is just how it goes on the Grounded
It's
podcast. You
how it
never
goes. And
know.
look, you said the book's name, but I will tell you, we just got these in, like just hot off the presses. So you're gonna get one in the mail, and they're on shelves August 25th. But this is what it looks like. This is
Oh,
what the
it's
book looks like.
beautiful. I know. I was like
Thanks.
wishing I had one to hold
Well,
up. I'm so glad you did it.
you'll have it soon because we just got them in, so they're getting in the mail today.
Okay, so Sky, this book is direct quote. This book is for people asking, "What can I do?" Now, a couple of things I love about this book. First, it's basically a roadmap, and a few others, by the way, that we have talked about. This book on courage, Joyce White Vance's book. There's so many books out there that
Yes.
provide roadmaps, right? And people are always asking us this question: What can we do? I want a tangible thing that we can do. And here's what's very cool about Sky's book. It has these sections in here, tip sheets, right? Things you can do in less than a day, things you can do if you have a full weekend, things if you have a week. And then also, this one was one of my favorite sections, tip sheets, pathways to joy. And you talk about touching nature, you talk about rituals, all the things to keep us joyful in this moment because it really is hard. So, like what's the feedback you're getting here? Because I appreciate those kind of checklists, especially as a geriatric millennial.
Well, that's exactly we're the same. We're on the same wavelength there generationally. But that's exactly what we started hearing. Look, you know our work at Democracy Forward. It's really all consuming. We're in the courts all the time. I was not looking to write a book. But many publishers as well as folks across the country started reaching out to say, people want to know what they can do, and just going on TV and saying, make sure you're registered to vote or use your voice. Like, people are like, what does that really mean? Or they're doing things. They're going to their No Kings protests. They're showing up for their neighbors, but they want to figure out how to do more, and they want to make sure they can engage. And so this book, we call it a guide for all of us. And there really is something in here. I mean, you've been through it. There really is something in here for all of us. If you are busy and really just are in the stage, and we all get there where you just can't handle another thing, we hope that this book can fill your cup. If you're exhausted, there's great stories. There's also things you can do in like 5 minutes or 30 minutes. And then there's
Yeah.
things that you can do that are longer term commitments for people that are really trying to dig in deeper ways. And so I think that is the response we're getting, is lots of folks. And we've had people, Michael Steele, former chair of the RNC, Hillary
Friend of our show.
Clinton,
Yep, yep.
Hillary Clinton, Willie and Annie Nelson. I mean, we've had all kinds of people that when they've read the draft, the galley copy of the book have said this is what we need for right now because it really tries to bring us together. So, so thanks for going through it. And yeah, we're getting good responses. So,
So, Farmer Senator Tester, I'm going to unmute you now.
So, thank you very much. I appreciate being unmuted, although I know it hurts you. So, Sky, you talked about going to the rallies and making sure your voice is being heard in the community that you live in. If you were going to pick one or two things that folks normally don't do but could make a difference in saving our democracy, what would those be?
yeah, so there's the obvious. I'm just going to say them, but I mean, we hope people normally do them. But making sure you're registered to vote, voting, helping your community vote. Obviously, that's hugely important. And people are like, well, we always hear that. Yeah, we always hear that, but not all of us always do that, or we wouldn't be having these results. So there are really detailed things in here about how to do more than just say, well, go make sure you vote. There's a whole checklist on how
Absolutely.
you can do that. So we'll say that we got to say that because we've got the elections less than 90 days away. But other things that really I think what we want people to do. We say begin at your front door. Democracy begins at your front door. Too often we confuse watching political news, tuning into a podcast or, Substack, doom scrolling. We confuse that with actual action in the world. And so what we've tried to do is to say, showing up at your local school, whether or not you have kids or not, showing up for your local community, getting to know a local journalist or a local creator, those things are super important in this moment. They're the only things that have ever really made the difference is these community bonds. All the changes always come from the people. And so that's one thing is to really deepen your engagement with community, whatever that means for you. And there's a lots of different iterations of that. Another thing that we encourage, and which I think you all will find and probably found maybe meaningful, is we say, achieve information sobriety. We need to understand that this constant doom scrolling, this constant outrage of the day,
Yeah.
things that are being fed to us through algorithms, that is actually creating an environment that is preventing people from taking action and it is exhausting people. And so there are steps in the book that are easy to take to make sure that we're putting ourselves in charge of the information we take in. And we encourage people to support conversations like this because there's a lot more conversations out there that are happening that if you tune into, you can find some community together. So those are some other tips.
Senator, you're unmuted if you want to add something.
Well, I could go a lot of different directions with this, but
Well, let me just
but
pause you really quickly because I do want to say that I love that section of the book. As a journalist, as somebody who hears misinformation and disinformation from all sides, it's unbelievable how much is out there that is just not true. I love that section of the book about like really acknowledging how you're getting your information. All right, Senator, go ahead.
in this moment in time, there is a sensory overload for folks out there that are watching the news. I mean, my God, every day there's something that happens, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings, but a lot of times it's for some pretty bad shit that's going on, pretty counter to our democracy, pretty counter to the values and that we were raised with. And so what that results in is I talk to a lot of folks that say, I don't watch the news anymore. It's too depressing.
Right.
I don't watch it. I think it sucks. I'm going to watch Bonanza or the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Oh
So
boy. Oh
what do
boy.
you
Yeah, that's what they're watching.
what do you tell those folks that they're just burnt out with all the sensory overload that's been going on, particularly with this administration?
Well, first we say totally understandable. And guess what? You don't actually have to watch the news or to engage in all of this. What you do have to do is find a way to be informed. And there are lots of ways you can do that that can preserve your mental space and that can actually encourage you to take action. And so that's one of the things the book does is we have this whole thing, an information inventory you can go through and think about where are you getting
Mhm.
information? Maybe you don't need to tune in. Why do you need to know every soap operetta, every minute by minute that's happening in Washington? Maybe what you need to do is make sure you're gathering, important facts around issues that matter to you and then really spending the rest of that time taking action. So all that is in this Achieve Information Sobriety chapter. And thanks for your kind words about it because we have gotten a lot of feedback about how this is exactly what I need. We also have resources that will be available online with the book that show you how to be your own fact checker. because there are well-intentioned people in the world that are believing
Mhm.
things that are not true, and these are not people that this is not in bad faith. They're actually the victims of disinformation, and so how can you take that in your own hands?
Senator has something
But
funny to say. He's
well,
chuckling.
I know all I've got to say is that isn't exclusive to just the MAGA folks putting out bad information. I mean, I got to tell you, there's a lot of bad shit out there that makes no sense whatsoever. And the reason I know it's not truthful is because some of it's about me, and absolutely, absolutely unequivocally false. But yet somebody lays in bed at night, I guess, saying if I make this post, it'll make me relevant. So they do that, and it's just flat false.
I do want to put up here, I'm going to mute you again, Senator. But there's this companion website to the book called it's ordinarypeopleaction.com. Did I get that right, Sky?
Absolutely, and
Okay.
right now, it's where you can order the book, but it will be where we have all the resources on August 25th.
And they'll be kind of up to date resources too. You'll be updating them. And I do want to ask you a couple of things. First of all, you open this book really talking about your fight against those deportation flights that we saw with
Yes,
Kilmar Abrego Garcia
yes.
and just like the horrific images we saw from the from the prison CCOT down in El Salvador. And the thing is, I know that Democracy Forward has done so much legal work to push back, and you've had many successes. And yet we're still seeing, I mean, today, protected status ending for hundreds of thousands of Haitians and Venezuelans, the raids continuing, people locked up without due process. There's a woman in Minnesota whose my heart has been just aching over her story because she has been in incarcerated for 8 months and doesn't even know if her kid um she has no information really about her children, and she's confused and she's not getting out. So I'm wondering, what is it going to take to actually stop all of the injustices we're seeing against this immigrant community? What more can we all be doing?
Well, there's a lot of resources that we talk about in the book, and this start at your front door and get very local is really important because this is touching all communities, and it's touching communities across the country. And what we are seeing is ordinary Americans are stepping outside their comfort zones, and they are rendering mutual aid. They are figuring out how they can help a particular family. How do you talk to your kids? We have that in the book about what's happening at their schools with ICE threatening people's, family and their family status showing up at schools. So this is a all hands on deck fight. And that's one of the things I really hope comes across in the book. We can file as we can and will file lawsuits every single day, be in the courts every single day. Our friends at the ACLU doing the same thing, the state AGs, but it's not just the role of lawyers. It is the role of policymakers, and I hope that people will hold their policymakers accountable because this is ridiculous that this is happening when we actually have another branch of government that's supposed to be the real check, the people's check, which is Congress. So that's a piece of it. But this is also now about what we as people do. We all have the ability to make a choice in this moment that we are not going to sit idly by while our neighbors are being persecuted, while families are being torn apart. And so in the book, we have a lot of steps in that begin at your front door. There's a steps around how you can protect your neighbors, how you can ask for help and where you can get help if you are somebody that is being targeted, but how you can be that person, that safety net for someone. I mean, we get real specific. Maybe you're the person that needs to have the copy of your neighbors and your community members' documents in
Right.
your home too. Maybe you need to help, the know your rights trainings about what to do when ICE comes to your door. I mean, these are things that's unbelievable in many ways as it's happening in 2026 United States, but it is. The other piece of this is, which I hope comes across in the book, some of these are systemic and structural problems. Some of these threats did not begin on
Yep.
inauguration day. And we're going to have to be willing and have the courage to say that too, and to look that in the face and not blink, and to demand broader and bolder change from all political parties, from all policymakers. Nobody gets a free pass here just because they're not the ones doing the most of the damage. So, but look, um, it's a humanitarian crisis, and it's intensifying by the day.
Mm. Senator, you're
Yeah,
unmuted.
well, I mean, look, I would say I agree with you 100%. It's not something that just happened today. I'm going to tell you that I think a lot of this has to do with money in campaigns, money in politics. Because the truth is anymore, our elected representatives, and you talked about how dysfunctional Congress is, and you're 100% right. Senate and the House, both rubber stamps for the executive branch. That's not what the forefathers had in mind. But the truth is with all this money in politics, by giving one person that can give so much, these candidates don't have to go out and talk to their constituents anymore. And the constituents don't feel like they're being heard, and they react in this kind of way, whether it's whether it's on the far left or the far right. They're both reacting in a very similar fashion. And you're right, the folks in Washington D.C. need to start listening because they ain't listening right now.
Okay, Sky, I want to ask you one more thing about. I'm going to mute you, Senator. I want to ask you one more thing. Well, I have two more questions. We'll see how much time we can get through here. I know you have a heart out, but another project you've been working on, the Human Rights Campaign teamed up with your organization, Democracy Forward, to organize a counteraction to a Turning Point USA event. And you're working on a campaign to really do this across the country. And this is something that a lot of people have asked about. Like, why isn't there an organization on the other side that's as effective as Turning Point USA has been on the conservative side? So tell us, what can you tell us about that?
This is really amazing. There is so much energy across the country right now. People, regardless of where if they may have been apathetic before or what side they may have perceived they were on before, people are like, this is not who we are. This hate and this is not who we are. And we're even seeing that on college campuses. And the problem with Turning Point, there's many problems with Turning Point, but one thing that has happened is that the far right, these extreme movements, have targeted particular areas that they think are easy areas for them to target. So, for instance, I grew up in Waco, Texas. I went to Baylor University. I love Baylor University. I don't agree with everything that Baylor University has done over the years, but I appreciate that community. And Turning Point USA tried to, host this event at Baylor while also silencing other voices across the school. It's a university that has not always enabled LGBTQ students, for example, to host their own events and these types of things. So instead of trying to kick Turning Point off campus, our organizations worked with the students, and this was a student led thing on the ground to host an event that was more inclusive, that was about all our neighbors, is what it was called. It was a competitor
Mm.
event to Turning Point, and what ended up happening is that event was sold at, was just sort of, standing room only. The Turning Point event, they tried to manage who was in there. Then they were upset about the turnout, so they piped and draped parts of the thing. They wouldn't allow the media in, and people started, recording. I mean, it was just kind of all over the place. But
Chaos.
it was a real example of, in a place like Waco, Texas, where the Turning Point USAs of the world, the president, his allies, they are very arrogant. I mean, they think that they're just people that are willing to push themselves into this hateful agenda. And the students said absolutely not. And so Kelly Robinson from the Human Rights Campaign came and spoke at that alternative event. Paul Rauschenbusch from the Interfaith Alliance. It was a really beautiful thing. And so what we see there is that we need to be able to support our campuses, both people that are not on campuses and also support for campus organizations. So you're going to see a lot of that throughout the fall, and the
I'm
energy is
wondering
there.
though, like, the counter events are wonderful. Is there a bigger movement to start an actual? I mean, Turning Point's really this club, this inclusive club that pulls people
Yes.
in, it gets youth engaged, and
Yes.
I haven't seen like a really broad coalition like that yet.
You're gonna see it. You will see
Okay.
it. So we have these initiatives that have been very grassroots to start, because the other thing is you need to, and Turning Point did this. I mean, you want to sort of see what is actually resonating with people, not what somebody in some boardroom or consultant room says will resonate with people. But we have these things called campus coffees for change, where people, and the whole purpose is to build community. You don't need
Mm.
to get behind a 5-point legislative plan. I mean, you could get there, but right now, there is a movement in this country that wants people to feel isolated, alone. They want people to be afraid. And what we need to do is to build and strengthen community. And then from that community comes the courage and conviction to do all the other things. And so we are really pleased to have Campus Coffees for Change across the country. We're really pleased that many partners are working with us, and you will see that intensify as school comes back in the next few weeks.
Okay, Senator, I'm unmuting you. We are out of time with Sky Perryman, but I'm unmuting you for final thoughts or questions.
Well, no, look, I just want to say thanks. I mean, I think letting students make up their own mind by giving them the opportunity to listen to different perspectives is nothing but basic. It's what the democracy is built on, and we can all talk about why we're here, but that generation is the most important generation. It's the generation that's going to be our next leaders and going to be determining the future of this country. So I really appreciate your work in that vein. I think it's really important.
Thank you. And the good
Okay.
news is that generation can cut through the BS and they want to see impact, and that's what we want to support.
All right. Well, Sky Perriman, President and CEO of Democracy Forward, and of course, author of the book Ordinary People, Extraordinary Times, coming out August 25th. We thank you so much for being with us, Sky.
Thank you. And the book's available for pre-order. It will be in Kindle and on audio if you're an Audible book person. So pre-order it to show the country that you care about democracy, and look forward to being with you soon.
All right. We'll have you back on soon. Thank you, Sky. All right, Senator, I'm unmuting you. And we have some headlines to get to. But first, our friend Tony from Australia wants a quick rundown on the harvest and what you're driving and give us an update, tractor tester time on what you're doing.
Yeah, well, a week ago I was harvesting peas, and today I'm tilling the peas double up. I'm organic, so there were some weeds underneath the peas, and so I'm terminating those weeds before they go to seed. And so that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'll be doing for the next day or two. And then hopefully, we started cutting spring wheat. We didn't have any winter wheat. Winter wheat's about cut where I'm at in north central Montana anyway, but started cutting spring wheat. It was too wet. So we're going to try it again either tomorrow or Sunday. And hopefully we'll be able to keep going and get it in the bin and be able to make it so people can have flour to make good bread.
Oh, I know. I have some fresh flour from the farm that I have not used yet. I need to make something with
Oh
it.
my
Maybe I'll make a
God.
pie.
You got to get out. You got to do some cooking. I mean.
I've been kind of busy. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, so we just wrapped up our conversation with Sky Perryman, so we're gonna do headlines now. I'm gonna mute you while I read, and then you'll respond. Okay? Um, just a little bit of background noise from the tractor. I need to get out there and set him up with the right earpieces, but he'll probably lose it. He's on mute, so he can't even respond to this. I can say whatever I want, and he can't respond. This is great. Okay, so Senator, we have some breaking news for you this morning. A federal appeals court just ruled, let me put this on the stage, that President Trump has to stop all construction of his $400 million ballroom project at the White House unless he can get congressional approval here. The court said that he does not have the authority to do this on his own, to build this. Historic preservationists sued to stop this construction. But I mean, the shitty thing is that nothing can be done to get the East Wing back. It's already been demolished. So, what are your thoughts, Senator? Oh, wait.
Pretty terrible idea to begin with. You got people that are out there struggling to buy groceries and put food on the table and buy their medicines, and the president's building some damn Taj Mahal. The sad part is as you read that court ruling, it's going to require Congress to act. Congress has rubber stamped every damn thing this president's wanted, and I anticipate they'll do the same thing this time. I think it's a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. And this not unlike the wall was supposed to be paid for by private donations. The wall was supposed to be paid for by Mexico. Well, it turns out that it's the U.S. taxpayer that's paying for it. The word conservative does not apply to Republicans anymore, as was pointed out to me by James Steele here a while back on this podcast. So,
Michael
uh,
Steele.
Michael Steele, I'm sorry. James Steele actually was the former chairman of the Salish Kootenai tribe here in Montana, so it was a Freudian slip. But the bottom line is this: if Congress has to grant him authority to do this, they'll do it. Unfortunately, I think it's a mistake. And you're right, the East Wing is already demolished. He did that on his own accord because he's such a brilliant real estate man who's went bankrupt 6 times. Anyway, go ahead.
I remember too the big fight and the outrage when Michelle Obama planted her vegetable garden. This is a little bit different than that.
Different standards. I will tell you that. I know that There are people right now working to get fires paid for as the West is up in flames, and they're being pushed back, saying we can't afford it. But yeah, we can afford a war of choice in Iran. This is the kind of crap that needs to end, and hopefully this next election will end it, so there's some accountability to the people that serve in Washington D.C. to their constituents.
Okay, next headline. It's deja vu all over again. The president signed 2 executive orders aimed at birthright citizenship. This comes, of course, after the Supreme Court already rejected his previous attempts to do this. The new orders kind of lasered in on specific items. One wants to limit the number of people eligible. And it also takes aim at what the president's calling birth tourism, women who come here to have babies with the hopes of getting automatic citizenship. It's really not clear how those can be enforced. What do you think? This will stand, Senator?
No, I mean, how many times do you have to get told no? I mean, how many times has Trump been married, by the way? Is it like 3? And I don't know how his current wife stays married to him because he doesn't know the meaning of no. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it continues on, and it continues on as our economy, inflation, war in Iran continues to move on. He is overwhelmed with all this bullshit about birthright citizenship that the courts have already decided on.
Okay, moving on to your old office, the United States Senate. Looks like Todd Blanche will be confirmed as Attorney General. All eyes this morning were on Senator Bill Cassidy. He was considered kind of the last possible holdout here. And Cassidy went on the Senate floor and said he will vote to confirm Todd Blanche as Attorney General. This came after Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins said they would oppose this nomination. This means that Blanche can't have any other surprises, no GOP defectors, but he looks on track to secure the job unless there are any surprises left.
Well, this goes back to the previous question. That is, Congress does whatever he wants. Todd Blanche is a poor choice. He's a very poor choice. I wouldn't vote for him for county attorney in the county I live. He's going to be ahead of the largest law enforcement agency in the country. I think it's really sad. It's unfortunate, and I think it's a choice that the people who vote for him will come to regret, as they have with so many others.
Okay, my last headline for you this morning. Oh, I need to get my sheet up. Okay. We're going to talk about the war in Iran news. The president is denying reports now that say that the United States is facing a huge munitions shortage. And he vowed to hunt down whoever's leaking the information because that seems to be the problem in his eyes. He wants to put them in jail. He says that we have massive amounts of munitions. Multiple outlets, though, reputable outlets, reported that the U.S. has blown through its global stockpile of long range precision missiles. And then the Washington Post reported that Trump actually confronted Pete Hegseth over this. Of course, the president's denying that. Detailed information, of course, about our weapons is classified. But one think tank estimates that we have about a third of the Patriot missiles we had before this conflict began.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you don't plan. When you figure it's going to be real easy, you're going to get in and get out in a week. This is a quagmire. And the problem is not the information. The information is released to the public. They need to do more of that. And if the Pentagon was honest with the American people and allowed people in to ask questions, we'd find out that this is a fact. And the president is dealing with everything else under the sun while he puts our national security at risk and he puts our economy at risk. I mean, I got to tell you, when you go to the polls this November, if you vote for a Republican, I don't care if you're a rock rib Republican, conservative, FDR, not FDR, but Dwight D. Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan Republican. I don't know how you can vote for these people. I don't know how you can do it. They don't represent anybody but the uber rich. That's it. Crazy.
Steve Cyber's asking you to explain the difference between winter wheat and spring wheat.
Steve Cyber knows the difference, but I will do it. For the listeners, winter wheat is planted in the fall. It goes over the winter, and then it's usually harvested 2, 3 weeks earlier than spring wheat, which is planted in the spring and harvested in the fall.
Okay. I don't know. We could have probably. I'm gonna mute him while I say this. We could probably have an 8-hour conversation about the Senate race in Montana. I do just want to clear at least one thing up though, because after our last episode, there was a comment on our feed that asked why you are suddenly pulling support for Seth Bodnar, the independent candidate, and endorsing former Governor Steve Bullock. To which I replied, that did not happen. That is a planted story in a Republican news outlet. So you want to say anything about that, Senator?
Yeah, I do. We talked to Sky Perryman about this very issue. There, you got to fact check stuff out, and that's why I said what I said about it. It was about me. The bottom line is Seth Bodnar is the best candidate in this race. He's got the best resume. He's somebody who will listen. He's somebody who will reason. He's somebody that has common sense, and he's somebody that can win in November. And I am strongly behind him. Love Steve Bullock. Think Steve's a great guy, but Steve ain't running for the United States Senate. If he was going to do that, he would have announced a long time ago.
Yes, good point. And I just want to put my own little note on here. We've done so many episodes talking about what's known as the Big Tent. And I just saw something from a friend though that said we shouldn't use that phrase anymore. So maybe we should get a new phrase. But the point is that we have seen what happens when people, longtime friends, all these when people burn it all down. And the point of this is that these attacks and the fight over who you think should win does not have to get so personal. It doesn't have to get so ugly. We can do this without stooping really low and seeing everything divide, divide, divide. And that is my hope in all of this, because it's getting really hard to watch all of the chaos unfolding. And the thing is that we saw this in 2016. I still hear about long-term feuds and fights over Bernie versus Hillary, and it's just not helpful. You have anything to say, Senator?
Yeah, I mean, everybody complains about Trump because he's in it for himself. A lot of this stuff's happening because the people who are out there stirring the shit are in it for themselves. They're not in it to make this country a better place for our kids and our grandkids. And that's a fact. And a lot of those folks need to look in the mirror and ask themselves what the hell they're doing, because what they're doing is they're empowering the very people that they say they dislike. And keep your mind in the middle and keep focused on what the problem is. And a lot of these folks have forgotten what that is, and they're more focused on themselves and their own relevancy than in the future of this country.
All right. Well, those are our rants for today. Be kind. That's my hope. Be kind, everybody. Let's talk about your hat. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing just my old hat. This is my fishing hat. That I never
Fishing
go
hat.
fishing in. But yeah, you probably can't see it because it's pretty dirty. I think it says Havoc on the front, which is a fishing line, I believe. But yeah, I didn't wear a special hat because I didn't want to get it dirty. You know?
Wait, are you on the tractor with your white collared shirt next to you?
No, I don't have one of those in this tractor. So yeah, that's in the combine. That's in the combine. Okay.
And that's in the combine. And for people who don't know, the tractor plants and pushes things down, and the combine harvests. Did I get that right?
No, but that's close enough.
What did I get wrong?
A tractor is used for a number of things, including tillage, baling hay, if it's not a self-propelled baler, uh, pulling a sprayer if you're a chemical applicator, pulling a grain cart at harvest time. A combine is used to harvest the grain. In other words, when it's standing, cut it off, separate the chaff from the wheat, and dump the wheat into a truck. And there you go. It's not that
There you go.
complicated.
It's not that complicated. All right. We want to thank everyone for joining us. We want to thank Sky Perryman for that conversation, not only about our book, but about some of the lawsuits her organization, Democracy Forward, has filed and fought against this administration. We want to thank everybody who joined us on the live stream and listened later. We want to thank Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. You can find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, Substack. I'm forgetting all of it. And I think that's all I have. Anything else from you, Farmer Senator?
Just a simple tally ho. Thanks for listening.